Okay.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Black Coffee, Honey, and Grits. If you don't know who we are, ladies, we are the Black Coffee. Our lips drip with honey, and sometimes we got grits, sometimes we got a little sass class, and all that ass. We are here today with a conversation around transparency and vulnerability. My name is Maisha, known online as Devi Maisha, and I am a sex and intimacy coach specializing in teaching women how to harness the power of sex magic. Dr. Jamesia, tossing it to you.
Hey, good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Jamesia, the nurse practitioner extraordinaire. I'm also your intermittent fasting and mindset coach, YouTube influencer, speaker, author, all the things, and 1/3 of Black Coffee, Honey, and Grits. Carmel.
Hey, I'm Coach Carmel, whole food, plant-based fitness and vegan coach, encouraging everybody to add more plants to your plate. Back to you, Maisha.
Thank you. So this was sparked by a reel, as sometimes our conversations are, if it's not sparked by something happening in real life. And I saw this reel by Dr. Raquel. She's a clinical psychologist and does a lot of great work. And she was talking about the difference between transparency and vulnerability. And I thought it was really interesting because I don't think a lot of people know the difference. I think people think that, oh, because someone is being transparent, that they're being vulnerable. And the way she broke it down in the simplest terms possible is that transparency is giving information. So it's talking about the things that happened in your day, good or bad, something that you may or may not have done. And vulnerability is expressing how you felt about that. So transparency is, yeah, my day was pretty rough today. It was just a hard day at work. Vulnerability is, I had a really rough day at work today. My boss said some things to me, and I felt like this wave of shame come over me. I was really angry with my boss. That's vulnerability, expressing how we were feeling about the things that happened. And I thought it was a good conversation to have because I don't know that we always know the difference. And
Mhm.
are we might be transparent in our relationships, but are we vulnerable in our relationships? Because vulnerability requires us to trust and be open about what's happening and what's going on. So before I continue, just wanted to see with the ladies, are you transparent and vulnerable in your relationships? Do you express how you're feeling?
I feel like I do. Yes, Dr. J.
I feel like I'm more transparent than I am vulnerable. Although I am vulnerable, but I feel like I'm more transparent because I'm always in my head. I'm always thinking. Um, but but I have been intentional about saying what I feel, what I desire, what I want, and I think that makes me more vulnerable to whomever I'm saying that to,
Mhm.
or whomever I'm letting into that knowledge, because uh, there's also that person on my shoulder that's like, "Girl, that was a little. You sound a little needy right there," or "Girl, you doing too much." Like, why are you even? Why? Like, what are you doing? So, um, I'm playing with that. I mean, I'm playing with it because I know it's something that needs to be done for me to have deeper, richer relationships. And I have good relationships, y'all. I do. But I think that I have relationships where people get very open and vulnerable with me,
Mm,
and I may not do exactly the same. I'm transparent, right?
mm.
But yeah, but I'm just saying.
Yes, because the vulnerability is scary. So as you
Mhm.
as you were talking, and I'm sure we'll circle back, as you were talking, I was thinking of three different examples that just came into my mind to give everyone who's listening more context. So I posted something recently, not this Wednesday, last Wednesday. I was in my group coaching with my business coach, and I was still tired, still dealing with some behind the scenes situations with some friends and unnecessary drama, still recovering from my trip, feeling frustrated with my business, hadn't eaten, hadn't slept well, and wasn't drinking a lot of water. And while, you know, I'm thinking about launching this thing, which I'm not gonna, but I'm thinking about launching this thing. I'm getting the feedback in the group, and she's suggesting ManyChat. And without even thinking about it, I said, oh yeah, that's not in my budget. And you know, she's like, well, let's see. And she went through it and she's like, yeah, it's just $15 a month. And the amount of shame that I felt having said that, knowing it wasn't true, and just thinking about what was happening there. So I wrote a post about it on Facebook. And I wrote a post about how I was in that situation, how I felt the shame, and how I dipped right back into victim mode as soon as things were not going well. Like, that is my default. Oh my God, nothing's going to work out right. No, I can't do it. There are no possibilities. That was me being transparent and vulnerable in a post. The other was when I was away at an event, and I was working with my teacher at the time, and we were all in this Airbnb house, and I was just, whatever was happening with the work that we were doing, it was releasing so much from me, and I just needed hugs. And so I sent a text message to the ladies, you know, I just need a huge cuddle party. I'm feeling, I don't remember how I was feeling. And so, you know, they came in and they all just laid with me and they cuddled with me. That was me being vulnerable. And then another one is with the guy I was seeing. Right. So our texting, messaging wasn't always how I wanted it to be. And I was feeling a little bit some kind of way about it. And so I had a conversation with him, just letting him know, not that I needed anything to change, but this is how I was feeling and what was happening and what my mind was telling me about the response time, right? Not him, but what my mind was telling me. So those are 3 different scenarios of being vulnerable and transparent, I guess, because you're doing both, so that people can see what it looks like if you're doing it online, if you're doing it with friends, and if you're doing it with someone that you're in a relationship with. Carmel, your face, she's like,
Yeah. So I love those. Thank you for those examples, because you asked the question and I was just like, yeah, I'm transparent and I'm vulnerable. And as you're telling those examples and I'm listening to your examples and I'm thinking, well, what examples can I offer? And I'm like, maybe I'm not as vulnerable as I thought I was. And I know that there are times, especially in a relationship, I know there are times where I'm seeking to be vulnerable. So I'll ask him a question to elicit a meaningful feeling, kind of vulnerable answer, and they'll skate around it. And I'm thinking, like, at least two of my guys, like two of previous relationships, and me seeking that vulnerability in them, just to kind of like give me space to also be vulnerable. Or sometimes I would be a little bit, but again, seeking that space so that I can even divulge more, and them not really not really coming through with their vulnerability. And I feel like I definitely am able to be vulnerable. I can sit there and tell somebody how I feel, as far as a relationship, a romantic relationship is involved. But just like you, Dr. Jamesia, I don't feel myself being that vulnerable, like around friends and family. Like I tighten up, and I'm very, well, this is what it is. And this is how I think about it, as opposed to how I feel about it. And when somebody says, well, Carmel, how do you feel about XYZ? All of a sudden I'm like, I feel exposed. So all of that is going through my mind as you were talking. I'm like, Carmel, you're not vulnerable at all. Like, I feel like there are times that I want to be, and yet I kind of feel that permission. I feel like I need that permission or want that space. Like, let's all do it together. I'm gonna be the only one.
Right. And for me too, Carmel, it's more, I'm going to get to Maurice's comment here in a second, but it's more like, I am very much talking to myself about everything. Like I said, if I show this moment of vulnerability, and they're so used to me being strong, or they're so used to me like being the one that always holds space for whatever, I'm just like, oh, like I don't know that I want to show that, or I'm scared, or like, girl, you're doing too much, like I said, or you seem like a little bit whiny right now. You're not a whiny person, even though deep down inside I be going through it. But
Yeah.
anyway, you know what I'm saying?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. Okay, Maurice.
So Maurice says, does a partner's increased vulnerability make you more or less willing to be vulnerable too? Yes.
More,
Mhm.
more.
More.
Yes. More so. Yes.
Yeah, then
Absolutely.
I'm all in. I'm all in. Let's cry
Yeah.
together.
Yeah. It's like I almost
Yeah.
feel safer.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I love what you all are saying. And actually, as you're talking, I'm like, I'm more vulnerable than I thought. So my self concept of me, I think I was still looking at myself from me as a teenager, where there was absolutely no vulnerability. Like you weren't. The answer to how are you feeling was always I'm fine.
Mm-hmm.
There was no other answer that I gave. There was never angry, sad, no other, I'm fine. And I think I was still seeing myself through that lens and thinking, oh, Maisha, you need to learn how to be more vulnerable, not realizing that I had, like, as I'm listening to you all and replaying certain conversations in my mind, I'm like, oh no, yeah, I'm one of those that will tell people, I'll tell people how I feel. I don't know what's going to happen after that. I don't. They can do with that information with what they want. I mean, even with my kids, I'll be like, look, today is not the day. I'm pissed. I don't want to take it out on any of you. I'm going in my room. I need some time. Or those things that you all did, I'm really frustrated. Like I'm angry. I'm sad. I will let them know how, like, what's going on, um how I'm feeling inside, not just the transparency but also the vulnerability. But it was definitely a journey, I think, to get to this place where I'm able to do that,
Mm-hmm.
because there's that fear, right, that like if I express this, it's especially with people, a lot of people aren't used to vulnerability, right?
No,
So it can come across as too much for some people because they're just like, what is all this emotion that's happening right now?
Yeah. Like, what are you doing? Like,
Like,
stop.
what are you doing? But at this point now, I don't think I know any other way to be in relationship. And so, to Maurice's point, if people aren't willing to be vulnerable, there's a natural wall that happens with me. There's only but so far
Mm-hmm.
you're going to get inside my inner sanctum, because I can sense that you're not willing to share
Mm-hmm.
yourself with
Mm-hmm.
me.
do you know when that all happened for you, Maisha? Like when you started being aware of your vulnerability, or that you needed to be more, or do you know when or how that kind of progressed?
I wish like over
Yeah.
time. Yeah. I mean, definitely in the past 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
So my daughter's been asking me a lot of those questions. In the past 10 years is when I really did a lot of healing work around a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure it started before then, but the past 10 years for sure, I learned how to, like, feel.
So I know, like, one of my more recent relationships, I would ask him questions, like I said, for those deeper answers, and found that he he would attempt to answer them, and in his attempt to answer them, fancy words, and like, very diplomatic in his explanation, and the stuttering. It was really incredible to see this grown man who was very articulate
Mm-hmm.
about things, logistic things, and whatever happened. This is what happened today. And like, he'll tell me, like, I was offended. But when you kind of like dig deep, like, why? Like, or even if it was something between the two of us, he'd start to stutter. And then he would really think about his words, which I appreciate him thinking about his words and how he was going to say it as to not hurt
Yeah.
anybody's feelings. But that's when all the beautiful poetry came out. It's like, whoa, back up. I want to know what's inside here. I don't want to hear a verse of poetry. Like, yeah,
Mhm.
that was really interesting to see.
I think it's hard for men. I think it's much, well, at this point, I think it's hard for everyone to be vulnerable, honestly. But I think it is in general harder for men to be vulnerable. First of all, they weren't, that's just not what boys are allowed to do, right? Boys aren't allowed to tell people how they feel. You don't do that. And then for a lot of the men, at least the men that I've spoken to, when they are vulnerable, it gets used against them.
Mhm.
So they don't
Yeah.
talk about how they feel about something because it comes up in their face, even just under the reel, right? Some of the comments, one of the comments I saw was, and I don't know if it was a man or a woman, but I've seen men and women say the same thing. No, talking about vulnerability, it's like somebody's like, nobody wants a man to be all open, all mushy with his feelings like that. And I was like, wow,
Mhm.
that's
Nice.
really sad.
That's
Mhm.
But that's how a lot of people feel. I've heard women say, I don't want him crying in front of me. I don't want to see all of that.
Mm.
And I'm like, oh.
that makes me remember. I don't know if y'all watch Friends, but
Mhm.
Rachel was dating Bruce Willis's character, and he got to be that way, and she was like, I can't take this.
I do remember you cried over everything. It's a little exaggerated, y'all. That's why it was funny. It's a little exaggerated, but I think kind of to make the point a little bit, right? Because it's like women like the bad boy, the stoic one, the one who doesn't talk about their feelings, all guarded and close to the vest. The mystery for us to crack, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Not the one who's open and who's like the one who wants to share. We're like, dude.
Like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, like, do we really want men to be?
Mhm.
Do we really want them to be vulnerable with us?
Yeah.
So interesting. I dated a guy who was very transparent. He would tell me everything. But like only until we're having this conversation, there was no vulnerability in our relationship.
Mhm.
And here I thought that, oh, I could build a future with this guy because we get along so well. Of course you get along because you're not talking about your feelings like at all. Of course. So we're skating on on the good parts of our relationship, never really getting into how we can make our relationship work. The hard times is
Mhm.
just kind of like, okay, he said something, hurt my feelings a little bit, but he made up for it because he bought dinner. Like there was no vulnerability in that relationship at all from either of us.
Oh, so did you ever talk about like so when he did hurt your feelings, like say, that thing that was said, it hurt my feelings.
Yeah. So when I would say that, he would be like, I didn't mean to. And then he'd come up with some reason why it happened like that. But there was never any kind of like it wasn't followed by a hug or soothing
Mhm.
or we make it up to you. And it wasn't followed by that at all. It was followed by an excuse. And as long as I felt like I voiced what I was feeling, we were okay again. Right.
Mhm.
It didn't lead to a fight.
Yeah.
It just led to some kind of a reason or excuse why he said or did what he did. One of those vulnerable times I remember I was just like, I don't feel like I'm a huge part of your life. I ended up getting the key to his apartment. I'm like, okay, let's get it moving.
So question for both of you, because this y'all know, if y'all don't know, they know, like I'm a deep person. So and see, sometimes I'm like, I feel like people are like, why does she have to be so deep? Because vulnerability. So when you're in a relationship with someone and they hurt your feelings, do you say what it was that was hurt? So for instance, if I felt like I wasn't a part of someone's life at this stage in life, most likely what's going to come out of my mouth is yeah, I want to let you know that there's a part of me that feels like I'm not a part of your life, and what it's bringing up for me is this feeling of being abandoned or left behind. Like, I'm going to go to the next level. Like, why is like, it's not just that my feelings are hurt, but it's what's hurt, so that this person knows what it is that triggered in me. Because they might not know what that means. Like, why am I hurt? So my question is, do you say what it is? Do you say feelings of abandonment, feelings of being left behind? Do you say what the fear is?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Not all the times, because sometimes I can't find what it is exactly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I'm able to say, oh, I felt a little bit something because I felt like I was going to be abandoned, or I felt like if I said this, it would be just too much. It would be just too much. And I would be criticized, disappointed. I would be abandoned. I would be whatever. But not always. No. And again, like I said, I am still very much toying with that. How to say that sometimes without sounding like, you are my feelings, right? And still, I'm an adult, right? So.
What about you, Carmel?
Yeah, if I know, I when my feelings are hurt, or when I'm feeling a kind of way about something, I really try to assess, where is this coming from? Is it him that's hurting your feelings? Like nobody really has the power to hurt us. It just brings something up. It's some kind of a trigger, something that we haven't dealt with, or something that's coming up. And so I remember very specifically one time I was at a party, and the guy that I was seeing at the time was like, Carmel, I gotta go. We came in 2 separate cars. And I'm like, okay, I'm coming. Now I'm saying goodbye to all my friends. And before I know it, I turn around. Where is this dude? I call him up. Where are you? I left. What? And a feeling of abandonment it was so intense. I'm like, my father left without saying goodbye. Like, my father was killed in a car accident. I'm like, you can't do that. Like, I need a goodbye. And there's something about a goodbye for me always triggered me. And ever since I was younger, but that was like the ultimate. I'm like, how do you do that? Right. And I don't remember him comforting me in any way. He might have apologized. He was like, well, you were taking too long and I was leaving. He was very unapologetic in whatever he said to me. And I ended up kind of like leaving it alone, because I knew where that came from. It was just like, okay, he left, Carmel, big deal. He left.
Mm-hmm.
And I just knew that I had to deal with it myself. But yes, even if it's in the heat of the moment and I'm angry and I'm upset about it, if I know where it's coming from, they're gonna know. They're gonna know, like, this is why I'm upset with you.
Oh, I love that. I don't know if you see Raider Steelers fans comment on the side. He said, nobody should be in a relationship if they can't accept the vulnerabilities of their partner. It's no getting around it. I think we all agree, and I think we all know that that's probably not what most people are are doing. I don't think most people are being vulnerable with each other because they're afraid of being abandoned and rejected. And I know that there are, speaking to a lot of women, one of the fears of women is of being too much, like just too much. So I was watching this series. I like it on Netflix. Nobody wants this.
Nobody wants this.
Oh, so good. So good. I'd like
So
binge
good.
watch all 8, and I was so mad that I had to wait for a season 2. But what I loved about Kristen Bell's character in that movie is her ability to be vulnerable. So there's this one scene where she's, like, her parents have gone through some stuff, like they're separated but not divorced, and now her dad is gay and her mom still kind of wants him. And she's got all these types of abandonment issues and this fear of being too much. And there's one scene where she's finally going to be honest, because her way of deflection is to always make a joke.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And he's trying to get deep with her, and she's just like, hey, And so finally, when she's vulnerable, she's like, I need you to turn around. Right. She's like, I can say this, but I can't talk to you while I'm saying it. And she's telling him her deepest fear is that she's going to be too much crazy. And dude is going to see all her crazy. And he's going to be like, you know what? I gotta go. And I honestly think that that is the deepest fear of a lot of women, that if we are actually fully vulnerable with all of the spectrum of our emotions, from our hellfire hurricane to our very calm, soothing waters, some dude is going to be like, I can't deal with whatever this is. I need you to like be inside these parameters. I'm out. And so we try to be inside these parameters, but there's all this other stuff that's happening. I think that that's at least for women. I maybe the men can speak for themselves, but that's what I found for women is the biggest fear, is that being too much.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I absolutely love that series though. Yeah.
Oh my God, it's so good.
I ate it up. Yeah, I did. And I loved it. And I did love the fact that, and then when I feel like and then when we try to do something different, we have people in our ear saying, oh, you've changed.
Yeah.
Oh, you're this, oh, you're that. And that's like I said about the pressure that I feel like my family's going to be like, why are you emotional? You're the one who takes on all of everyone else.
Yeah.
You can't change. We need you to be like, the Rock. So, and that plays in Black women's heads too.
For sure.
Like, we're the strong ones. And also society also puts us in these roles of, you are the strong one. Right. You're even stronger than Black men.
Right.
Which is a lie, which is a goddamn lie, actually. I can say that. But it's like, it's hard. It is hard. Really, it is to live that authentically. And it just really is. So, yeah.
Ooh, wow, that just hit me. Yeah, that's really deep. To feel in that box. And I'm saying it like it's never, like I think it's been a while for me, but I felt like that was the box I was also not. I don't know that it was so much. I don't know if strong was the word, and maybe that was the word, but there was definitely a space of like I was the responsible one. And so there just wasn't any space for anything. And I think that's why I rebelled in the ways that I did. Like, it was like, there was no, I feel like everything I do sometimes is so extreme. There was no like me creeping out of the responsible thing. It was like, no, I'm going to drop out of school. I'm going to try and kill myself, and y'all are just going to leave me the fuck alone. And then after that, it was like, let's not bother Maisha anymore. Okay. Let's just let her do whatever it is she's going to do. But up until that point, that was definitely on my shoulders. Like, you're going to go do all of these things. And you're in such control of your emotions, and you're so well behaved, and you're so this and you're so that. Like, the idea of me just breaking down into tears or being really angry would be like, what is wrong with you? Like, what is happening right now? Now, people are like, no, it's just give her like 5 minutes. She'll be all right. But back then, wow, you're right. And that is so unhealthy for us to continue to live that way, I think, and the way it plays into our relationships. And the fact that means that in our relationships, we're not able to be as vulnerable as we would like to be. And neither are the men.
Yeah, because there's sometimes that I'll seek it. I want to be, and sometimes you want to be asked too, and that kind of gives you like I was saying before, the space. There was a very close friend of mine that she would always call and tell me what's going on in her life, and then one day I was like, I'm hearing all of her qualms, and I'm sitting there like, why don't you ever ask me what's going on with me? And it's kind of like, well, Carmel, if you wanted to share something, just say it. But I also wanted to be heard. Like I wanted her to say, how are you doing? Because I know that this has happened in your life, and that's happening in your life, and you're probably overwhelmed, and like, how are you doing? And she never asked me that. And one day in tears, I'm like, why don't you ever ask me? She's like, I'm sorry because you're always the stronger one of the two of us. Yeah. So it's kind of like, okay, so I have to find this friend that's stronger than me.
It's a catch-22, isn't it?
Yeah. And two, you know, Carmel, you kind of did not share how you felt.
Exactly. Why did I feel like she needed to be the one to ask me? Why didn't I just share?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's what I was saying. That's the catch-22. You feel like you're supposed to be the strong one, but you're really like, I need it too. But because you're supposed to be the strong one, then you can't ask, but people don't ask because they assume you're the strong one. And
Yeah.
if something's wrong, definitely you'll say it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it becomes
And if they're busy kind of like, oh, this is what's going, if they're busy sharing their woes, for me to kind of like undermine that and say, well, this is what's happening to me. And now it's like, what? Are we in competition?
In competition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get consoled here, and now you're telling me this, and no, that's not what we're doing right now.
You know what though, Carmel, too, with that, I have some friends that we take time and we do that. We like vent and we say, do you have space to listen? And then if we listen, we know that it's going to be us sharing. Everybody going to get some time. So there's three of us. So if the other one can only share their stuff, the other one most likely is okay to hear all the gripes or whatever. You understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. And that's
we know that's what it's set up to be.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's important. What about the flip side of this is, and this was in the reel too, or in the caption though, what about the happy stuff? Is there, so like for me, sometimes there's still a concern about being extra vulnerable with my happy for the same reason. There's a fear of it's coming across too much. So for instance, I don't understand why people were pissed off at Tom Cruise for jumping on Oprah's couch when he was loving Katie Holmes like that. Like, I didn't understand why people were so upset with him. When Howard, what's his name, was running for president, and he was like with the microphone, and this is like, I don't know how many years ago, and he was like, and we're gonna take this state and that state, and I was like, yeah, and he was all excited. People were like, whoa, buddy, that's way too much emotion, and I'm over here like, yeah, that's how you should be. Right. Why then, like, is it a problem also if we're vulnerable in that way where we're just that ecstatic too? I didn't understand the problem for either of them, and they were happen to be men.
And I think that also is one of the reasons why Oprah took the world by storm. Because she showed it all. Right. She cried with everybody.
Yeah.
She was angry with everybody. She talked about she put her whole life out there for everybody to see and know. That, to me, was one of those things where it's like, dang, you can't help but like her. You can't help but, like, it's Oprah. She's like the queen of vulnerability.
Yeah.
Right. And then you can empathize with what she's been through and celebrate with her for her successes and wins.
Yeah.
Right. That's so are we allowed to do that? Like, that's Oprah. Okay. But like Tom Cruise wasn't allowed to do that, right?
Right.
Can we like get that excited? Like, if I'm at a party and I'm in love, can I just be like, just all over, I love this guy, and people, are they going to be like, whoa, Maisha, that's...
I feel like I've probably done it when people are around me and they're excited about something, maybe even at a party, and yelling and screaming, and you're like, oh my God, she's so obnoxious. Like, why do I want to hear all that? Like, yeah. And maybe it highlights the fact that, you know, we, like, if she annoys me, it might highlight the fact that I'm not able to express my happiness with that much enthusiasm. Or maybe it's kind of like, oh, I want to feel, maybe it's like a little bit of a jealousy or envy, like, oh, I want to feel.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah. So I was just thinking about that too, because I know we think about vulnerability, and just for everyone listening, we think about it in a way of talking about all the bad stuff. But can we be vulnerable and hear about all the exciting things and let somebody like like it feels like the only place that Black women are able to, well, Black men too are able to be that way is in church. Like you can get up and run the aisle. Carmel, I know you went Catholic church. I don't know if you've ever been to a Black church. We need to take you to one. If you, oh, okay, yeah, you can get up and run around the aisles and fall out, and you can be like, praise Jesus, and you can have tears streaming down your face with the ecstasy of the Lord, and everybody's like, yes. But if you have tears streaming down your face with the ecstasy of purchasing your first house or you fell in love, people are like, what is happening here? And I'm like, why can't it all exist? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes, that reminds me of just this past summer when I ran a race at Twins Fest. It was a 5K race, and I just turned 50. So I'm thinking that I'm in a brand new age group. I'm the youngest in my age group. I'm gonna get this. I'm winning. Come to find out that the new age group started at 51. So I'm really the eldest. And so when I found that out, I was like, there's no way I'm winning. When they called my name as the first place winner, like everybody who was being called went up, humbly took their thing, and just sat down. They called my name. When I tell you I was jumping for joy like I was in a Black church. And I was just kind of like, I didn't think I was going to win. I won this thing. And there was a bunch of other women that were running. And I was just jumping for joy and screaming. And everybody was like, who is that? And they're like clapping for me too. They're like, okay. And I'm sure somebody in the corner was like, really? It's a small race. Like,
yeah. It's your whole life, girl.
You've got
You're doing too much. You're doing too much.
You've got nothing else going on. Like what?
Oh, look, I'm wondering now that and thank you to the men for adding into the conversation. Are there places in your life where you feel like you can still be more vulnerable, whether it's the highs or the lows?
Yeah, 100%.
100%.
And I love this conversation because I think I'm going to be more intentional about it. Like when I win crossing the stage this weekend, like then.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. You better.
Absolutely.
You better. Like there needs to be you doing some type of Cabbage Patch or some type of something that's just like, I feel like and yes, for me too. And especially with the joy, because I think it's easier. I think it's more acceptable in some ways for us to do the sad portion. It's still hard for many of us, but it's more acceptable, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, look, I'm 51. So look, I'm still alive at this age, right? Every day that I have, that I wake up, it's a celebration. And so anything that's happening in my life that's a celebration, y'all are going to get this like it is the 4th of July and Christmas and the Yankees won the World Series, because they will, and the Giants won the Super Bowl. Y'all are going to get it like it's all of that combined, because why not?
Why not?
Why give me my ticker tape parade? I want fireworks. I want applause like I have won an Emmy, a Grammy, a Tony. Yes, because anything that's being done still at this age means I'm alive. I'm still going forward. I'm still doing things. And I just think it needs to be celebrated with your whole chest.
Yeah, I don't think we celebrate enough. I knew this one guy. We were talking, and he talked about how he bought a house, and we were like in our 30s. And I'm like, congratulations. He really did not respond. He kept talking. He mentioned it again. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. Congratulations. He said, you keep saying congratulations. I bought a house. I'm like, dude, we're like 30 something. You bought a house. Like you bought a house. Congratulations, excuse my language. Like it's a big deal. I don't think we celebrate enough, or sometimes we feel like, oh, I just did what was coming next. We'll celebrate that. I have this note on a magnet on my refrigerator that says, until further notice, celebrate everything.
I love that. Yeah, and I think we too also are concerned with being too braggadocious too sometimes.
Yeah. And folks just gonna have you'll be all right.
You'll be all
Like
right.
Carmel said, it's like, some of that could be some jealousy. Let me be a light for you to show you what's possible. Don't look at me and be like, that's too much. Look at me celebrate it and go, let me find something to celebrate too.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I love that.
Let me, because I'm gonna be like, I wish a man would get up on somebody's couch and jump up and down talking about how much they love me. I'm still flabbergasted by that. Like, I wish some dude would be jumping up and down, a little taller, on somebody's couch, talking about how they can't. Like, what? Are you kidding me? You listen. Anyway.
Are they still together? No, right?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Not for some years now. Yeah.
Yeah, she was with Jamie Foxx for a little while or something too.
That was after him. Yeah, it's a whole
Yeah.
messy thing with the.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Gotcha.
But anyway, I think this is a good place for us to wrap up. I've very much enjoyed this conversation. Ladies, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
No, I don't have anything other than the fact that I will be a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle tomorrow, and I will put some pictures up. I get dressed up on Halloween because I'm a big kid.
Oh, yay! I've never
That's
gone
so
to an adult Halloween party.
Okay.
Yeah, I've never done that. I want to do that one year. I want to go. I have not gotten dressed up for Halloween. I got dressed up when I took my kids trick-or-treating sometimes, and then sometimes I didn't. And they would be like, "Where's your costume?" And I was like, "I'm going as a mother." So I want to go. That is a thing on my bucket list. I'm just telling y'all, if you have a Halloween party, I want to go to a Halloween party and get dressed up.
But
The
I
only
absolutely, oh, sorry.
No, so go ahead. You
No, I was
absolutely.
just going to say, I absolutely love themed stuff.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. Me
Love
too.
it.
Those are fun. Those are always fun. I never did Halloween until I was an adult, like in my 30s. I never did Halloween because my mom, no, we're not doing Halloween. It was mostly because of the candy, not because of, we're celebrating whatever it is that, people are celebrating. But, and then I was all in because again, I love themed stuff. So we would get dressed and things like that only as an adult. So I'm still enjoying it.
I didn't do it that much because I let the church get in my head about, and I said, after a while, I'm like, you know what? I have fun. This is fun. I like passing out candy. I like dressing up. I just think it's fun. I like seeing other adults in costumes for the day. I'm like, oh my God, you look so cool. I just love it. So
my father was an absolute no to Halloween. Thank God for my rebellious mother who would let, she was like, y'all, here's a little costume. Y'all could do a little costume, he was absolutely against it for sure. All the holidays. Okay, we're a no in my house except for Kwanzaa. But yeah, my mom was just like, go ahead and do the thing. So I got to do it that one day in school, but I never went trick-or-treating as a child ever. And so with my kids, we went trick-or-treating.
Oh, we had pillowcases full of candy that I would never eat all of it, but I mean full.
Yeah, we went trick-or-treating. And as a matter of fact, I've been commissioned. I know we just switched the topic, y'all, but as a matter of fact, the children had the nerve to come to me. My daughter just turned 26, a couple of months ago, talking about, so you buying candy? I said, for what? She said, for Halloween. I said, to give out to the children? And all of them, no, not for the children that come knocking at the door, for them. I'm like, you kidding? So still to this day, yes, I have bought candy for them. I have videos of them trading off candy. Like they would get candy and put it in a pile, and then they would trade this for that and that for the other. So like they were like gambling in Vegas. But yeah, I took them trick-or-treating. But anyway, tomorrow I will be me.
Okay. Well, I'm
doing a ritual because I'll be me. By the way, for those of you who are into that, it's going to be a new moon coming up Halloween or the day after, also on a new month, 11/1. So lots of magical stuff in the air. Please, y'all, just stay grounded. That's all I'm gonna say. I won't turn this into my kind of show. All right, I am finished here. Anything else to say? Thank you so much for joining us. We will not be here on Friday, but we will see you back here Monday at 6:30. Make sure you subscribe, like, and share. Definitely here on YouTube. All right. Take care, everyone.
Take care, guys.